Socks are the #1 most requested item at homeless shelters. Underwear second, and shirts are third. At Bombas, socks were first, made with comfortable details for everyday wearing. Then underwear, and shirts too, all designed to perfectly fit. At Bombas, every item you purchase means you're donating an essential clothing item to someone in need. One comfortable clothing item for you, one donated to someone in need. Bombas, comfort for all. Get 20% off your purchase at bombas.com/comfy.
Hour number 3. And who else we have? The gorgeous Lucy Bell has returned. Dim-da-dim is here. Just let it roll off your tongue. Dim-da-dim. The Michael Leger has arrived. The Michael Leger. Awesome Annie Svensson. The gorgeous Kathleen Hughes. The fedora-wearing John Hudson, my brother. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Hi, Luscious Jules. Thank you for coming on in. And the lovely Jen A. Henry X, welcome to our channel. Thank you for joining us. The Unknown, how you doing? Welcome back. Noodles, welcome. The lovely Aunt Edna. There she is. $5,900, good to see you. And the lovely Nikki in Seattle. Stu Gerson, good to have you here. And J.G. Hartwell, welcome back to the show. Vixen Doe, looking very vivacious tonight. And Thomas Rock, good to have you here. My goodness. Paul Revere. The Canadians are coming. The Canadians are coming. The Beard, there he is. There's Kevin and Kevin's Beard, 2 separate entities and area codes in Texas. George Hernandez, thank you for joining us. Hi, Jeremy Jones. Welcome back. I'm going to have to shut it down right there. The lovely Zeta Pop and Mood Freedom will be the last ones. Well, Seagull says a Digger Dog will sneak you guys in. I need a favor, though. Horns up. It's time to rock. Columbia, to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight, talking UFOs, aliens, maybe a little time travel. Dr. Michael Masters is here from Montana Tech University. I guess it's not a university, it's just a technical school. But nonetheless, this guy is badass when it comes to all this. Badass. And, you know, he's the type of guy, really, he will drop an elbow on you. Top rope, elbow, right to the sternum. That's kind of Dr. Michael Masters is. Anyways, moving on here. Moving on. And I think I said his, you know what, I should really read what I have here. Yeah, he's at Montana Tech. Yeah.
Montana Tech. Can you hear me, Dave?
I can. Yeah, I screwed it up, man. Just right
You did, big time, man. Montana Tech is a university.
It is?
It's called Montana Technological University.
Well, see,
I went to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. That's what we are. We're a science and engineering school. We're a PhD granting institution. We are a university. We ain't no technical school. Come on.
Hey, I went to BCIT up here. British Columbia.
There's nothing wrong with technical schools, but we are a 4-year college and PhD granting university. We're not a technical school.
Fine.
I ain't teaching a community college, Dave.
Are you wanting to hit me with a steel chair right off the bat here?
Kinda, yeah. Let's get some WWE action going.
Oh, I
here.
tell
Come
you,
on.
I tell you, do not make. Hold on a second. Here.
No, it ain't you, man. You're not the only one.
God. You don't want none of this. I just forewarned you. I don't want any of this.
I'm sorry. I came out hot there, man.
I'm telling you right now. You don't want any of this because I've kicked Dave out of the studio.
Oh, damn.
All
right.
is here.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I'm telling you. Telling you, Dr. Mike.
I left my mask in my office, man. Sorry about that. No, it's funny you say that, though, because the first time I was on Ancient Aliens, they wrote Montana Technical University, and I was like, there's a difference between a technical school and university. And again, there's nothing wrong with technical schools. It's very important what they do, and I have mad respect for the people that go to those. But when you're like, well, it's just a technical school, that's when I bring out the metal chair, Dave.
Hey, you want to bring the steel chair? El Omni Volador is ready for anything.
You look invincible right now.
Translated to the flying UFO.
Yeah.
That's
no,
me.
I wouldn't swing a metal chair at you, my friend.
No,
I would not do that.
You can do that to that fat Dave bugger who disappeared here. But El Omni Volador, you don't want this. You don't want this at all.
You don't do that to him. I get you. I feel you.
Oh. Anyways, Dr. Michael Masters, how are you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
It's been a while.
I'm good.
I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever.
I know.
I haven't busted out my old threads, man. I got some old school spaced out radio threads going.
I know. I noticed that right off the bat, and I appreciate that. And, it's one of those things where somebody's got to keep Dave on the straight and narrow, and you're one of those guys. But, Mike, over the last year and a half or so, you have really taken off in the UFO world with a lot of your theories and research going into everything from UFOs to time travel, extraterrestrials, where are they coming from? You've got a great book out about it. What's the love of this subject? Because so many of your peers are not into UFOs, at least publicly.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, it's funny because I started this with the intent of doing something that I believed in, and I still very much do. And that's always been the point is I feel like this connection between our past, present, and future exists. And these UFOs, the aliens, obviously nobody knows. Obviously nobody has all the answers. But I do feel like it's at least worth acknowledging how often they're described as human in completely human terms, to get nerdy for a second, with derived traits characteristic of the hominin lineage. We should be taking that into account. And so I think people are seeing that. Many people have before me. I'm not interjecting anything new here. It's just adding a different spin on it, I guess, more of a biological human evolutionary spin. But people have been talking about this for, as far as I can trace it back, since the 1940s. In fact, the first chapter of my new book just lists out all of the people I could find who have also put this out in any capacity for whatever reason that they had, whatever their background was. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. And Mark Davenport did the same thing in his book, who I discovered about a year ago. He did the same thing, where he's tracing all of the people that he could that said the same thing. So I think it's important. But to your question, yes, in my field, we're not allowed to talk about this. It's one of these things that we're not supposed to talk about. And it's speculation, it's teleology, if we say this is what will happen to us in the future. But where it becomes less speculative is if we're actually observing those people from our future. If we're seeing them and we're describing their traits in the context of the traits that we have and our ancestors have, we're not speculating, we're observing. We're seeing this same progression that we can identify from our own past manifesting itself from the future in our present, and we're just connecting the dots. So I feel like if there's any criticisms about speculation or any criticisms about unfounded claims, then I would love to talk to people about this, because I think it's misguided.
For you, how did you get into this? What made you curious? Now, I remember talking to other scientists about this same topic a long time ago, and the words of one really stuck with me, where he said, Dave, scientists, we're all geeks and nerds. We're all Star Trekkers or Star Wars fans or something along that line. We're always looking to the stars, looking for more, and this is the next evolution of where things go. How did you get involved with this? Because please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't believe you're a full-on experiencer or anything like that.
No, I'm not. I would say, unfortunately, I'm not. Especially after researching this book I'm working on now, I would love to be a contactee. I think I wouldn't want to be an abductee, but abductees, if they have multiple experiences, seem to turn into contactees just because it becomes normalized, and they feel the love and the empathy from what I argue is the future. But no, I never had an experience. I never saw a UFO. I never had any reason to believe this from personal experience. It's just researching others. That's what we do as scientists. Is we look at things that are happening. We ask questions. We draw hypotheses from those questions and then attempt to test those. It's obviously more difficult with the UFO phenomenon because what is evidence? What do we have to actually argue that this interpretation is better than that? We can't really create testable hypotheses. I do oftentimes mention, and I think it should be noted, that this, what I call extratempestrial model, is testable in the sense that we will get to a point in the future or not when we know. So if we do get to that point where we become them or we die and we don't, then we have tested this hypothesis. But other things, other questions aren't testable. And one of the first lectures I give in all of my Anthropology 101 classes is I give them a list of questions. And I say, is this testable? Is it not? And I love to end it with, what was the last one? I think James Franco went back in time and killed his grandfather. And which is great because it buys me time where a lot of people run down through it. They're like, okay, null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, this is how you do it. But then they get to the last one, so I can walk around while all the slower people are still trying to figure out the other ones and be like, well, one of those is wrong. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Because time travel isn't something a lot of people think about, but it is something that we can think about in real terms, especially in the block universe. So I think it's good to acknowledge what we can know, what we can't know, but also continue to push that boundary. Because why not? You know, why would we just stop and say, well, that's something we can never know? And you see that right now a lot with numerous mainstream scientists. You see it. God, I hate that. I can't believe I used the word. Not necessarily mainstream, but like super public, overt people, personalities, scientific personalities. Let's say that. They almost stop being scientists and they become personalities. And I feel like that detracts from the field. It detracts from science. It detracts from what we're supposed to be doing.
What's your opinion then of when, say, someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson comes in and completely ridicules the idea that UFOs are here, aliens could be a possibility, and we have to stop thinking such stupidity in science, even though so much evidence has come out?
Well, the issue is really with how we define evidence. He's right in the sense that we don't have scientific evidence. And I acknowledge that very much in my new book. However, I do also acknowledge that we need to be more open-minded to the reality of what exists around us, and especially, not that we necessarily need to rely on the government to say, this is real, now move forward. We've known it's real for a long time. We've been studying it. Many of us have been in secret, the invisible college, as Jacques Vallée called it. But to just ignore it, to turn a blind eye to something that's real and has been increasingly proven to be real in recent time, especially since 2017, I think is anti-science. It's it does the exact opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. And I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love Bill Nye. I love all the people that are skeptics and debunkers. And I think that needs to exist. We always need to cross-check everything. There should be checks and balances. But there comes a point where you should also just open your mind a little bit and recognize it. Like, I would always think, like, I would love to sit down and debate Neil deGrasse Tyson, but at the same time, what's the point? Like, why debate somebody that doesn't know anything about what you're debating? It'd be like me debating if my plumber was like, I want to do your plumbing this way, and me knowing nothing about plumbing, because I'm not at a technical school, Dave, would be like, well, do it this way. And he's like, no, I'm going to debate with it. Like, what's the point? He doesn't know anything about UFOs. He's dismissed it his entire career. He thinks it's hogwash. So what's the point in debating that? Debate people who actually have ideas and who have paid attention to these things and who have studied these things. That's where the truth is going to come from. Not from the skeptics and debunkers. That's important, but they're not the ones that are going to grow our knowledge in the subject. Sorry, I timed the end of my answer very poorly there as you were drinking.
You know, I mean, here's the thing for me. I mean, there are some brilliant people with the same education as Neil deGrasse Tyson in the SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies.
Love those guys, yes.
Me too. And yet, to not even pay attention or dismiss the research that is going on, I mean, isn't science supposed to always be about finding what's next?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's almost as if there was a rift that was created, and we have to almost trace that back to why and when. I don't think it's something that's recent. I feel like this is just some evolutionary hangover from Project Grudge, honestly. Like when it became this like scientists versus people having real experiences thing. And then we're pitted against each other in a way that was beneficial to the ones doing it, which was obviously the governments involved who may or may not have had things to hide. But that there's this evolutionary hangover that keeps being perpetuated through the ages, and we're dealing with that now. It's almost like you could take our conversations now, transport them back to the 1950s, and it's going to be the same type of thing. It's obviously a more informed conversation now, but it's the same sort of debate. Like, yes, this is real. No, this doesn't exist, and you're all crazy. And it's sad. You know, we need to move past that. It's way time we move past this. And I acknowledge the careers. I acknowledge the things that these people have contributed. I'm not saying that I'm better than them. I'm not saying that I know something they don't know. But I do feel like we need to do science. We need to do the original question asking. We need to be open-minded to these things. And I feel like we're in this dirty period in history where it's just not okay. Like Carl Sagan in the 70s, he was smoking joints, he was asking questions, and that was perfectly fine. You know, Jimmy Carter wanted to know what UFOs were. He was going to legalize weed. And now we're in this like dark period in science again. I feel like it's getting better. I feel like we're coming out of it, but God, for a while there, it was just sad. Of course, it was like the exact time I was trying to publish my book too. So I was kind of freaked out about that. But I was happy to see that it got better, and I feel like it's getting better, but I'm still always freaked out about that.
Now, what do you think scientists are missing regarding the UFO question or the UAP question, the disclosure question, whatever question you want to be? What is the biggest thing they are missing regarding this topic?
Well, that's tough. I think we're missing hard evidence. I used to think 3-4 years ago that once we had public acknowledgement that this is real, we, with our crazy, nerdy science brains, would all come rushing toward it and say, let's study this. This seems interesting. This is something new and different. That didn't happen. So I ask myself what you just asked me a lot. Like, what's it going to take for us on the whole? Because there are scientists doing this, and there have been for a long time. It's not a new thing. I mentioned the Invisible College before, and I just got back from a conference in Houston at Rice University where, I got to see so many people who have been doing this for decades and decades, researching things that were always taboo, the impossible sciences. And it was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. But I think to really like draw in a large constituency of scientists is going to take hard evidence. It's going to take data. It's going to take something that crashes. It's going to take what UAPX is doing, maybe, where they generate a lot of data with things can be just instantly, taken off the table. This is explainable. And then something else that's unexplainable is there, but then you find patterns in that data, and you can find things that others who are doing things with experiencers, people who have special abilities, telepathy, mediums, precognition, looking at their brains, doing functional MRIs or any kind of MRI, or even EEG that would suggest that their brains are different somehow. We need data. We need to really look at these things with something quantifiable and tangible to really get everybody interested.
The world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
CareerBuilder is made for people who have that thing. You know, those superpowers that make you good at your job, the skills you bring to work. And CareerBuilder knows those skills make you right for other jobs too. Higher paying jobs with benefits. Jobs you never thought of trying. Are you a people person? Work from home as a customer service rep? Are you organized and like driving? Become a delivery driver. You have the skills it takes, and CareerBuilder.com has the jobs to get you hired fast. Visit CareerBuilder.com.
In my opinion.
Do you think those secrets are there? Whether it's from Lou Elizondo, Harry Reid, Chris Mellon, or any of the sorts who say that, even Robert Bigelow, who say they're here, we may be in possession of alien spacecraft, we may be in possession of alien bodies, they can't go and tell us the truth because of all the NDAs. I mean, it's just one big circle of fun, isn't it? I mean, how do you deal with that when all we are is teased with what is there, and then in the next breath we're saying we need proof?
I love that. One big circle of fun.
Well, I couldn't say the other thing,
for
right?
Sure.
I couldn't say the other thing,
Yeah, I know. I kind of figured that you wanted to use a different word there, but fun is a good way of putting it. And it is fun. I mean, there's something to be said there. Like, don't you think it's kind of fun to be having these conversations in like a real way now? Isn't this what we always wanted? We always wanted to be able to talk about this as a real thing, and we are now. And I think that's fun. I'm having so much fun with this. I'm having way more fun with this now than I was when I was thinking about publishing under a pen name because I thought I'd get fired for doing what I'm doing now. You know, it's a big old circle of fun. I agree with that. But to your actual question, I think anything and everything that comes from anybody that helps give insight into this situation is good. those guys and gals, the men and women that were involved in these projects, obviously are doing that little dance between NDAs and being able to tell all that they would like to tell. If it's disclosure, if it's some kind of leak, if it's the slow drip, as often gets said, fine. At least it's something. Do we want a waterfall? Do we want them just to squirt little spray bottles all over us with information that they have? Yeah, in this community we do, but can the rest of the public handle that? Do they want to be squirted with disclosure? I don't know.
Dr. Michael Masters is here from Montana Tech University talking UFOs, aliens, and time travel. We will get more into it when we come back from the break here in the second half hour on Spaced Out Radio. My name is L. Ovni Volador, filling in for the Wimpy Dave Scott. We'll be back with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. All right, we're clear. Hold on, I'm going to go let that super pest back in here. Can't handle
I like that. I love the theatrics, man.
These people make me want to puke. I can't handle being around these people. They make me sick to my stomach. Make me want to puke. Terrible. Get the hell out of here. Sorry about that, jerk. Sorry, people. El Ovni, he's a prick and a half. Absolute prick and a half. Can't stand him. Evan Walters, good to see you. Brian Drummond, thanks for coming on in. Excalibur. Lucy Bell, nice to have you here. The scowling Greg O'Brien. Look at the scowl, people. Hold on, let's see if we can make that bigger. Hold on. Where are we here? Does that make it bigger? There it is. Look at the scowl. And he's like, but I am smiling. Hold on. I didn't know these were all different. Well, that really makes it big. All right, right there. Hello, everybody. Judy of Gaul, welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you for joining us. Hey, there's awesome Katie Grabowski. I will see her in less than 24 hours. Yes, I will. At UFOCon 2022 in San Francisco, California. El Ovni Volador is on the no-fly list, so he cannot do it. Oh, there is Michael Masters' son there, or daughter. Hello. Looks like they were trying to sneak a cherry Pepsi somewhere. I got to disconnect one of my computers to bring it with me. I almost forgot to download my presentation tonight. I literally did it about 10 minutes before showtime. I'm sitting here, do. Oh, shit! Oh, no! Hello again. How are you?
Hi.
What are we drinking? Hold on. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Moon Freedom. How did he reverse age?
1 minute, Mike. 1 minute.
Mike Gambale, how are you, man? I think he's coming. There he is. Holy cow, he grew again. Oh, no, that's a different... What happened to the ball cap? And now you're looking all professional.
You're not wearing a wrestler mask anymore, so are you one to judge, Dave?
I was not wearing a wrestling mask.
I'm sorry, what was that then?
That was El Ovni Volador. He is an asshole.
Oh,
You know?
Okay, so it was a different person.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I don't know
I'm
anything
sorry, I didn't
about.
realize that.
He literally sucker punched me coming into the studio.
Well, you know, he was a great interviewer. He might have been better than you, to be honest. I mean, no offense, but
right.
he was
Hold on.
quite good. Yes, very good question.
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Dr. Michael Masters is here tonight. UFOs, aliens, time travelers. Very serious subject. We were talking about the science of everything right before the break here. And Michael, we welcome you back. Thank you for joining us.
You again, Dave.
I want to ask you, my friend, as we continue on here, do you believe that we have been visited by any type of extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial type of species that has come here to study us?
I mean, it's hard to say. What I think is we have definitely been visited. Where I start to have questions is by who or what or from where or when, as everyone before me has asked. This isn't a new question. But I think we're reaching a point that we can start to ask those questions. It's no longer, are they real? Well, it is for a lot of people. But for most people paying attention, it's no longer, are they real? But we can now ask, where or when are they coming from, or from what dimension or plane or spiritual existence? So yes, as a broad answer to that question, I absolutely think we have been and are being visited on a regular basis. The answers to that question of where, when, how, what, why are going to elude us for 7 months, I'm going to say.
Why 7 months?
I don't know. I just pulled that number out of my butt. I think that we're going to know soon, though. I really do. It feels like we're going to know something soon, and I hope it's 7 months. That was just wishful thinking. I hope it's sooner than that. But no, I don't have any sort of insight into that. Even people that claim to have insight are always wrong. So even if I said it'll be April 17th, 2025, no, that's probably going to be wrong too. But I'm super excited for the prospect of it being an aspect of our reality that we might know. And you have to admit, like, I know you're supposed to ask the questions here, but I would ask you, doesn't it feel different? Doesn't this feel different now than it has before?
You know what? I will answer that like this. I really do believe that something is happening, something is coming, and we don't know when. And the reason why I come from it on a journalistic angle, because I've only come from a tech school, and just self-deprecating there. But seriously,
it's not. Tech schools are important. They're just as important as universities. And that's what I say all the time at my university. I said it on your show. I said it today at a bar to a student that was doing high wire stuff. He's an electrician. I'm like, that's freaking important. That's more important than what I do. Carry on.
Anyways, boy, just do I have to call El Avni Volador back in here, or no,
we're good. We're good. That guy's scary. I don't like him.
He
freaks me out.
Yeah, he was a weirdo, man. No, but seriously,
he's cool though. He's a cool weirdo.
From a journalistic point of view, one of the things that I think is very important, and it's really not caught on in the UFO field because we're so inundated with Lou Elizondo and Tic Tacs and propulsion systems and what's happening at the Pentagon, that I think we forget about the simplistic questions of reading between the lines. And to me, the most important question that hasn't been answered yet is why now? And over the last 4 years, there's been no reason, Michael, for any of this news to take off. They could have kept it covered for more, as they have for the previous 70 years since Roswell. There was no need for it. And now all of a sudden we have this explosion of interest and entertainment in the UFO topic. It's fun to do, and I agree with you. I mean, we probably wouldn't be doing what we're doing if it wasn't fun. But the idea behind it is, I don't think there's a lot of serious questions that are being answered regarding the reasoning to the timing. The timing is suspect to me.
In that same vein, and I mean it both as like in a mining vein because I live in a mining town. Something weird happened recently where I recorded an interview with a very well-respected journalist in Russia. She's from Georgia, and I did it for Russian television. Her name was Sophia. Amazing journalist, asked some of the best questions, no offense, that I've ever been asked in an interview in my life. Did her research, and we shot this 16 months ago, a year and a half ago, and it just came out on Russian television, like the month that they invaded Ukraine. And I'm like, well, why sit on that for so long? And there were other ones that kept coming out before that she had done even more recently. Like, why sit on that for a year and a half before you publish it? And not that what I said had anything to do with anything, but just like, now you can't even watch it. Now it's not even on YouTube anymore. I don't understand. Like, it's confusing to me. The timing of everything is confusing, and I think there's also, my point here is, as self-deprecating as it may seem, is we can look for timing in things that may not have anything to do with anything too. Like, there was probably no correlation between when they publish my little bit on Sophia Visionaries on Russian television with when they happened to invade the Ukraine. It could just be a coincidence. What is happening now? We always think that our time is the most important. We always think that what's happening now is the most important thing. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen sometime. We could always say, why now? But what about now? We'll only know in retrospect. We could only know by looking back on these things if there happened to have been something that maybe was impactful. But I don't know. I guess I'll toss the ball back in your court. Like, why do you think that right now is important or not important?
Oh, I can tell you my answer to it. It's one of two things. I think that either we are, you could go along the lines of what Dr. Stephen Greer says, which is there's a potential of an alien invasion false flag in order to try and, take control of the world and very conspiratorial. I don't like it. I don't think it's right. Or the other side to me that actually makes sense as a journalist and as a contactee is I think a date was set. I think contact was made and a date was set, and they said, okay, in the next 30 years or so, we are going to come here and we are going to make ourselves known. So you have to start preparing people now, because I don't believe, and I've debated this with people on this show and in our audience, all right, who are very in tune with this subject. But Michael, I don't believe that however many people are listening to this show, whether it's 10, 100, 500, or 10,000 or more people who are listening to this show really understand the concept of what would happen to or how the effects would take part on every single person on this planet. Next to Jesus Christ himself coming down from the heavens, this is the second biggest story in humankind's history. Are we alone in the universe? And that's going to scare a lot of people. I think it's going to affect the economies. It's definitely going to affect the religion. It's definitely going to affect the military. And what do we do about that? Because if you look at the way we've handled and treated each other through COVID, hasn't been very nice.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think that, it's going to take a little bit of fluffing. Can I use the word fluffing?
Sure.
Does the FCC care about that? It's going to take a little bit of social fluffing to get us to the point where we're like, yeah, it's time-traveling humans, or it's aliens from a different planet, or it's ultra-terrestrials. You're all living in a simulation. Enjoy the rest of your simulated lives. I mean, no matter what, there's going to be ontological shock. But I guess my question to you, because I'm asking the questions now, is do you think like this stems from like Eisenhower's relationship? Do you think they have a base on the moon, whether they're extraterrestrials or time travelers, that found it easier to build a base on the moon to do what they're doing, or Antarctica, or under the ocean? I'm only saying this as like a hypothetical, but if they are involved with us and have been clearly for thousands of years, and there is a date set, as you said, because if there's a date set, they have to do something, and this kind of feels rushed, like a deadline almost. I'm sort of on board with what you're saying, because it feels like how my students turn in papers right before they're due.
Well, and I've said this to our audience a number of times, even earlier this week. I do believe that sitting somewhere deep in a Pentagon vault, probably 108 stories below the ground, I really think that there is what I like to nickname the UFO Pandora's box that has everything in there, including the questions that you answer.
Who controls it? Who controls it?
I don't know.
Who controls that box?
I don't know. I don't
I have
know.
a theory. Keep going.
Could it be the Invisible College? Could it be the, I don't think it's the President of the United States.
United States Air Force Office of Special Investigations. That's who I think it is.
Do you think there is?
The world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Everyone says time is money, but when you're a pro, it literally is. Every hour you spend away from the job means more money you're spending out of pocket. That's why Valspar and Lowe's are here to help with free job site delivery. Save time on your next job and get your paint delivered directly to you, totally free of charge. Made for more. Valspar. Contact your Valspar rep, a Lowe's Pro, or visit valspar.com/delivery for details or to find a rep near you. Select stores apply. 24-gallon minimum. Other restrictions apply, subject to availability.
Is that nickname UFO Pandora's Box out there?
I mean, I hope so. That's a pretty cool name. But no, I think if you look back at history, the people that always show up, and you look at Terry Lovelace's explanation of how he had to deal with military. You look at Jim Peniston's explanation with how he had to deal with military. It's always the same people. The Office of Special Investigations, U.S. Air Force. I think they have known this whole time. Obviously, they would be the ones that are called in Roswell if something crashed. They would be the ones who have been managing this the entire time. I think they have that Pandora's box. I think they have known they're the ones that are given the deadline by either future humans or extraterrestrials. And I know this all sounds crazy. I was looking at myself in this screen saying it, and I feel like a crazy person. But no, I think you're right. I think the way this feels is like there's a deadline looming, and they got to get something right. And this is the best way they can do it with all the other political stuff going on and COVID and everything. This is probably the worst time for that deadline to be given. And maybe it's not, but either way, I think something happened. Something is known. There is some knowledge among members of the U.S. No offense to your Canadian military.
Oh, no
up
problem.
North. But I do think the U.S. Air Force knows things, and I'll probably be murdered by a drone.
Well, you did have a very suspicious moose on your property the other day.
I have moose all the time, and they could be carrying bombs, Dave. That's a very good point.
Exactly.
If they're going to take me out, it's going to be an IED on a moose. I mean, I'm fine with it. If that's the way I go, that's the way I go.
Yeah. Aren't they gorgeous, moose?
Oh, my God. They're the most beautiful animals. I was out hunting elk one day, crawled out of a slough, and there was a mama and a baby moose like 10 yards away from me. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the thing that kills most people in Montana. And I put out this positive energy. I put my rifle on my back and I just slowly walked away, like between me and that back wall. And she just looked at me and was like, cool. I don't see you as a threat. You don't see it. And I was like, I would never kill a moose. It turns out that's like my spirit animal too. My wife looked that up, I guess.
I saw my first 2 bull moose this past year. I didn't realize.
Oh, no kidding.
I'd seen cows and I'd seen calves before, but never a bull moose. And I saw 2 of them within 3 hours. And
they're such majestic animals.
I didn't realize. I knew they were big because I have a lot of hunting friends. I knew they were big, but I didn't know they were that big. And
they're huge.
Yeah.
Can you imagine seeing a mastodon or a mammoth? Like we might get to. They're going to bring those back. And basically it's a elephant that they added fur to, but it's still cool. Like seeing a massive animal that close to you. I mean, you never forget that. It's amazing. Fortunately, it wasn't a grizzly bear because I probably wouldn't forget that because I'd be dead.
I saw last year my first grizzly bear and her 2 cubs.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. My side-by-side broke down about 25 miles away, and I had 1 bar on my phone to call my buddy, who just thankfully picked up the phone, and I said, this is where I'm stuck. Come get me so I could get my truck and trailer. And after he got me, we were driving down, and we saw this something kind of move near a logging road, and lo and behold, it was Mama Bear standing on her back feet, staring at the car coming. And then when we got up to the logging road, there was Mama Bear taking off down the road with her 2 cubs. So that was kind of cool.
That's the best way to see it.
Yeah, man.
That's the best way to see it.
That's
so cool. Congrats, man.
Yeah.
It's on my bucket list, but in that scenario, not when I'm out bow hunting or something.
Well, let me ask you this. Since we're kind of going down the road of woo here a little bit, what do you think is in that UFO?
We got woo big time. We got woo. And then we should acknowledge that. And I'm glad you did, because we should be talking about everything. I know I'm a scientist and I like to stick to science. I didn't mean to interrupt your question, but I think it is important to differentiate. We need to differentiate between the woo and the science. And we went woo, but I think that's still important. Sorry, carry on.
Well, my question is, what do you think, and granted it's hypothetical, is in that UFO Pandora's box?
I think it's probably our interpretation of something that is a blip on their radar, whether they be extraterrestrials or extraterrestrials or ultra-terrestrials or something they sent through the simulation. I think it was there for a reason. 1947. I think it was an accident, though. I do think it was future humans that came back through time that screwed something up. I made a joke in my new book that when Travis Walton went into the control center of his, when he got captured, and he was playing with the controls, that maybe that's what caused Roswell. But no, I think it was an accident. And the thing I always have to ask myself then is, what kind of future could they have come back from when they didn't know that accident existed? And then it brings it into the context of free will and the block universe, where it's far enough in time that they don't know it happened, which doesn't seem likely to me, or it's at a point where they know they have to go back and be that person, not alien, but person who's captured or dies in that situation. And I think that's why nobody wants to know their future. If maybe some of your listeners have watched The Atom Project, where the Hulk, he's not the Hulk, I can't remember his name, Mark Maron or something, he is confronted with his children who came into the past to visit him from 2 different points in the future, which is kind of fun that they did that. And he said, no, I don't want to know that I die. He knew that he died just from the look in their face, but he didn't want to know how he died. None of us want to know that. And it's the sticky wicket about free will, is that we want to know the future, but we don't want to know our own future. And we also don't want our own future to exist because we want to have free will. We do this weird little dance around all of those things. So I think there is knowledge in that Pandora's box. I think that the United States Air Force Office of Special Investigations has all of that knowledge, as others have said too. So hopefully they don't kill me for saying that. But I think that it's what is kind of bubbling out. It's almost an osmotic event where it has to come out. And I love your idea of a deadline too, because it really feels like it.
It just makes sense. At least to me it does. May not to others, but it makes sense. We got about 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Dr. Michael Masters is here from Montana Tech University. And I'm curious, there's a lot of speculation out there that if you travel backwards in time, you're not going to get to the timeline that you want. You don't really get a choice. Do you think then that if these entities from Roswell, or this craft from Roswell, was from the future, that maybe in their shift of timelines that something may have went haywire with their craft? Do you believe that we can jump into different dimensions, or that other dimensions exist?
Well, so God, you could left me 2 minutes.
Well, we'll carry on with leave the dimension.
What if I just tell a story for 2 minutes, then we tackle that when we come back?
Sure.
Because there's not enough time in 2 minutes to do that. So earlier today, I actually don't have a story to fill that time. You go.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get into the dimension side after the break here. But, let me ask you this with now about 90 seconds to go. If you
give me a 2-minute question. Jesus Christ, that's like a 10-minute question.
All right. If you had the opportunity to open up that Pandora's box, what would you like to see in there?
I would like to see information, data. I would like to see a long history of things that could explain the long history of what we have observed in both a mystical sense, a spiritual sense, a physical sense. I would like to see all of the things that we feel now and have seen and felt throughout the ages, all explained in the context of this thing that's yet to be revealed to us. And maybe that exists, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's always supposed to be a mystery. And there's something to be said for that too, where if you have something that gives you something else to think about that's not just whatever's on TV at that moment, or a thought that someone else had that you're supposed to think because they had it because they're a celebrity, then I think all of those things hidden in that box, swirling around a UFO as they popped out, as they did in Indiana Jones when they opened the Ark of the Covenant.
All right.
It would be awesome.
All right. I want to know if there is a list of names that have been taken and is my name on it. Spaced Out Radio with Dr. Michael Masters continues after this. That's what I want to know. Is there a list? And I think
There's a list, and your name's on it, and your little wrestler friends on it, too. They're coming for both of you.
Hey, I don't know
You should throw him under the bus first, though.
I don't know who that prick is. Every now and again, he...
Hey, that guy was awesome, man. I loved him. We had a great conversation earlier.
Yeah, well, don't trust him. That's the type of guy, honestly. He would, pull a foreign object out of his boots or from underneath his mask, and he would hit you with it. He's that guy. So never trust him.
Yeah, he said the same thing about you, so I don't know who I trust anymore.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you guys both seem cool to me.
You do have to come join us for Sasquatch.
Yeah. Did you ever figure out, like, even a month? You said July,
I'll talk.
maybe,
You know what? I'll talk to my buddies here anytime, really. Like, we could work around your schedule. I'll work around your schedule if you want to join us.
Yeah, July's pretty trashed. August might have possibilities. I mean, it's only 4 hours away, too, so I could make it work. But June and July are not looking good.
Yeah. Maybe September.
There might be forest fires too. The fires could be bad this year. Do you guys get fires bad when it's dry?
Oh, dude, we had them. We lost like 2 towns in our area last year.
I hate that. I hate that.
Well, I blame California for that because they started the trend, right?
Yes, it was definitely them that started climate change.
Yeah. Dirty jerks. Like John
Dirty
Hudson.
jerks. No, I'll tell you what though, like we had a fire, it was like a 4-acre fire from us in December. This year.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Now,
I could see it. It was right over the hill.
Right now they are racing to burn all of the slash piles. So, we were on evac alert last year. Fire got within about 15, 18 miles. And it was big. I think it was around 70,000 hectares.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Do you get morels when they come up at least?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's what makes it all worthwhile. What are you smoking there, man?
This is pineapple ice.
I got a little vapo too. I was thinking about taking a little mid-break riff off of that.
Go right ahead.
How much time we got till we come back?
We've got 2 full minutes. No, 3 full minutes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I could pee and hit this is what you're saying.
You go, girl. You go.
I will go.
I'm a little jealous of the
I'm going to sit down. I'm going to sit down as a girl, too, just because you said that.
Oh, nice.
It's going to feel right. It's what I want to do my whole life, Dave. It's what I want to do my whole life. I've always felt like I was in the wrong body. You gave me permission to do it.
Uh-oh. He's going to cross his legs. He's going to... There he goes. How funny is he? How funny is he? God, he makes me laugh. Oh. Definitely got to get him out Sasquatch hunting there, Duke. Definitely got to get him out there. Thurston, Howell the Third. How's Lovey doing? Give us an update, if you don't mind. Good morning, Marlena. How are you? Looking lovely this morning. John, do you listen to the show with your fedora on too? Or do you just wear it for the show? Kira, are you going to join us in Spokane when we go looking for Sasquatch? I'll make sure. Michael doesn't do a lot of interviews, but I'll make sure that he comes back a little bit more frequently. He is pretty phenomenal. Pretty phenomenal. By the way, thank you to Eddie and Worsley for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. And, yeah, big thank you to all the veterans out there who are tuning us on in. You always have a safe place in our chat room. We love you. Last Unicorn, how you doing? Al Menial, thanks for joining us. Lars Janssen, number 38 in your program. Lars Janssen. Mr. Crowley, how you doing? All right, we got like 5 seconds here, people.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Odyssey Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ugton. UGTON is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as a clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our good friend Dr. Michael Masters from Montana Tech University. We're getting into UFOs, time travel, and aliens. Are they from the future? Are they us? Or are they some sort of extraterrestrial? We'll find out here momentarily. Dr. Michael Masters, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. It's good to see you.
Always a pleasure. I know you're having fun here tonight. You may not be breaking a smile, but deep down...
I have never had so much fun in my life, Dave. Never.
I appreciate that.
I hide my emotions well, my friends.
I'm
like that emoji that's doing this face, but really I'm like super excited inside.
I totally get that. I can totally feel you right now. Totally feel you. I want to ask...
I feel you too, my brother.
Right there. That's just right in the feels. Right in the feels. I want to ask you...
it's empathy, It's empathy. It's not about looks. It's how you feel. I think we should all pay more attention to that.
Can we get into dimensions?
Yes.
Do you believe that we are multidimensional? And if so, why?
I don't know. Unfortunately, nobody knows. I would love to know. That was the hard part about writing this next book. Is in my first book, I just went with the block universe because that's the most conventionally understood way of understanding time. Where in the block universe, everything's self-consistent. There's one, if you go back in time, everything is the same way as it was in the future because that future grew out of whatever you did in the past. There's no change. The issue is change. So once you start getting into the multiverse or even like interdimensional, I feel like we haven't done a good enough job defining that because most physicists today don't think additional dimensions exist beyond our three space.
The world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
Spring is on at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Get a 4-burner outdoor gourmet grill for just $149.99. Catch 25% off all H2O Express fishing gear. And get BCG activewear starting at $7.99. Shop your store or academy.com. Ends March 27th. Exclusions and restrictions apply. See academy.com/disclaimers.
It's one time. With that said, there are some that do. There's also some that argue for string theory, which requires many multiple dimensions. It's just all I can do at this time as someone who's not a physicist, though that is where I started in an undergraduate capacity, which isn't worth really acknowledging because it's people skating on a frictionless surface. That's how you do all of your equations. So I don't know anything about it. And physicists who've studied all their lives also don't. But what we know now is that there aren't other dimensions. So I think temporarily, at least, we can cross that off the list. And what would that look like, too? What would that look like if they evolved in a place in time with extra dimensions of space or time? Where we're talking about where they couldn't just go left, right, forward, backwards, but all of these other dimensions that we can't even think about or extra dimensions of time. And that's, maybe that's a part of it. Maybe they flow through extra dimensions of time that we haven't yet found. But if something evolved in a space that had extra dimensions of space, I just don't see how it could look like us. And maybe it's the flatland thing where they could come into our space and modify their form to our 3 dimensions of space. I don't know. That was probably the most long-winded I don't know you've ever heard on this show, but I don't know, and I don't think anybody else knows.
It sounded pro. It sounded very pro. Just so you know. The scowling Greg
Well, I appreciate them.
The scowling Greg O'Brien, who mentioned during the break that he may have a man crush on you after the first hour. He's saying, is there such thing?
Scowling Greg.
Yeah. Is
he a gray alien? Is that what he's saying?
No, but he does have good hair under his ball cap. He's got a good mop.
That counts.
Yeah.
He's gray in my mind.
Is there such a thing as the present?
Oh, love that question. So that comes down to an age-old debate, and not just physicists, because we give too much attention to physicists. They are like, oh, what do physicists say? And especially theoretical physicists, like they're making it up. They're trying to make things work with their models, but what if none of our models work? But something that's been argued throughout centuries is this idea of presentism or eternalism. Do we have a now that we're all living in and we're all a part of, or is the eternalism, which is the block universe, which I was talking about earlier, where we have all of the moments that have ever existed in the universe, and we just feel. I started calling free will feel will. I don't know if that'll catch on or not, but we feel like we're moving through those, but really it's just a part of this existence that already is. It's part of this four-dimensional block time. But that question about what is a present feels real. Just in the same way that choosing things feels will.
Isn't that quite theoretical, though?
No, you can actually tell eternalism has been well validated. I would steer all of your listeners to a book. I'm going to butcher his name. It's Nick Buonamaso, maybe. He wrote a book called Your Brain is a Time Machine. He explains it way better than I could. Listen to that book, and that will answer all of the questions you just asked me as a novice.
Okay. If there are other dimensions out there, and let's say we traveled to them, would we be us in those different dimensions or timelines?
I mean, I think we need to separate dimensions and timelines, too, because with timelines, you're talking about the multiverse, and there's different existences of time, different yous that exist because you changed something in the past. If we're talking about dimensions, that's a whole different thing. That's like our existence and what we can move in or be a part of. And again, we don't know if multiple dimensions exist or not. Additional dimensions, I should say. We know that multiple ones do. We live in them. We live in 3 dimensions of space, 1 dimension of time, Minkowski space-time. But do we have additional dimensions above that? Nobody knows. But when you start talking about the multiverse and different timelines, that gets interesting. And that was a big focus of my next book because, like I said before, I didn't talk about it at all. I stuck with the block universe. This next book has been fun in the sense that I get to think about those things I didn't think about before. And especially in like weird contexts, like what about the nuclear question? Are they coming back to stop us from doing something that we did to change the timeline? Did they already know and like already intervene themselves in the context of the block universe without it being a change, but they always had done it? I get asked about the nuclear question a lot. Like, what is that relationship? Because they're clearly interested, and they would be interested if they're us from the future, where they want to live on this planet that we don't just piss all over because we nuke each other. So yeah, like what what is that relationship between block time and the multiverse in the context of something like a nuclear intervention? It's a complex question.
Would you be you on a different timeline? Or would you be a carpenter? Would you be, a theoretical physicist? Would you be flipping burgers at McDonald's? Would you be a murderer? I mean, can we even theorize that?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of sci-fi shows do that. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe you can help me. But I watched one recently where they would crawl through like a mirror door. And then if they changed something just a little bit, they could hop back and like, oh, sorry, it wasn't me. But then if they like went too far, it created something where they would come back in time and it was a different time. I mean, that's science fiction, but science fiction gives us a lot of ways of thinking about these things. And I don't know. I think that's sort of an interesting way of thinking about it. I don't believe in the multiverse. There's no reason to believe in it. It is a belief system because we don't have any evidence for it. But if it does exist, I think that I would probably say I would do it the mirror way. I would jump through the mirror a little bit and then just change something. Just steal that $10 from my grandfather's wallet and give it back to him 100 years later as a millionaire.
That'd be kind of cool. Christina, who's a great up-and-coming journalist herself, is asking, Mr. Masters, I'm curious about your opinion on places where there seem to be a convergence of the variety of phenomena, including UFOs, the paranormal, and what look like portals, such as Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, do these places exist that seem to have significance? They matter more than other places? If so, we should be able to test that somehow. And obviously, Skinwalker Ranch, they're doing that with all kinds of technology and different ways of trying to register things that may or may not be detectable. If we're talking about a connection to a spirit world, if we're talking to a connection with interdimensional or even things that, I mean, like what we're talking about with the multiverse or extra dimensional things, how do you quantify that until it's in your existence? Until it's here and now where you can see it and measure it. It may exist all around you all the time. I started using the term perinormal instead of paranormal because paranormal implies that it runs in parallel to you. I feel like these things are around us all of the time. But it's only when they're in whatever this is, our physical reality, in any specific place and time, that we can sense it and also measure it. So if there are these portals at Skinwalker and other places, Katie Gabrowski gave a talk at a conference I was at recently in Oregon, where she showed the same type of things happening, I think just a little bit south of there. And similar things, like things that seem to move in and out of space-time in ways that we should definitely pay attention to and measure. But again, how do you measure that? How do you measure something that's so fleeting and so ephemeral as part of our reality?
Could it be that there are certain sections on Earth or certain places on Earth where everything from ley lines to weather patterns to the thickness of the oxygen, and I'm just throwing out examples here, could be coming together in a perfect area where it creates these openings that these craft can use, or anything of the phenomena can use, in order to...
No, they don't rely on that. They materialize anywhere and everywhere they want to. I mean, just look at I hate saying historic records, but look at where they show up and when. It's seemingly everywhere, and maybe there's something about those places that have. I think Cheryl Costa did some study about the certain latitudes too, where there seem to be patterns there, but they're not necessarily the only thing. Like, yeah, maybe it's a hot spot. Maybe there's something about the electromagnetism of the Earth or some sort of anomaly, but if they're coming from another planet or from another time, they're blipping in and out of our time, they can do that whenever and wherever they want. And something, actually, I should point out too, Steve Mira in the UK, he made an important point that if they're coming from a different planet, or even if they're coming from the moon or somewhere in space, we should see these highways in space. We should see the lines coming between their star system and our planet, or the moon and our planet, or wherever. And we don't see that. How could they even? They'd have to crash through so much junk that we've put up in space that's circling our planet to spy on us and just give us television, the Kardashians and whatnot. We would see them coming back and forth. So why don't we see that? And they materialize and dematerialize. Jacques Vallée compared this to the mystical aspect, this sort of spirituality of it. How do we explain that? They come and go, just like the spirits that we see. But if they are doing it in space-time, if they're manipulating space-time and they're coming into our existence and popping out of our 4 dimensions of time, that's exactly what it should look like.
George would like to know, would past life experiences be considered time travel?
Oh, damn, I love that question. I just had this same conversation with my wife like a week ago, because we were talking about how everybody has past lives, but nobody has future lives. It was the exact question we asked ourselves. Like, why aren't people coming from the future? It's always, I was in the past. I remember playing baseball for the Cubs in like 1903, but nobody comes from the future. So I don't know. Like, we had a really long conversation on that, and it was super fun. There's no way to summarize the content of that, but I'll give you the end result is that we're like, I don't know. But that's an awesome question. I think about that all the time. Willie Strieber probably knows.
I have never thought about that. What do your future lives look like? God. I don't even...
And what we thought about for like 20 minutes was, what do you call them? How can they be future lives if they're past lives? But that future is your past. Like, we had like a semantic debate for like 20 minutes. I shit you negative.
I'm telling you right now, I am so glad I have a 5-hour drive to the Vancouver airport after this is done, because now I'm going to be thinking about how our future lives are actually past lives that we haven't incarnated into yet. I'm blown away.
And maybe can't. Like, so many people, not everyone, obviously, but so many people have memories of the past, but nobody tells a story from the future. Or very few. At least I've never heard of any. Maybe it exists, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I think it's brilliant thinking, and that's why you're at Montana Tech University, and I'm a
your listener asked that question. That wasn't me.
I know.
That was your listener.
I'm just a tech school guy, man. Just a tech school guy. I want to ask you. Nicola has a great question here. What do you then think of the Mandela effect and a timeline change? Is there any grips on that?
I don't know. I mean, am I allowed to just answer all these questions with I don't know?
Sure.
And nobody knows, because I don't know. Nobody knows. If the multiverse is real, and if we have different timelines, then it comes down to a question of, is there one dominant timeline over others? Is there one that would usurp the others to the extent that everyone's conscious memory and this is where I have problems with this, is how does our conscious memory, all our feelings, all our actions, all of our pictures that we have of the past suddenly change? I feel like if we're talking about parsimony and the explanation with the fewest paradoxes and questions, inference to the best explanation, if we start to talk about a Back to the Future scenario where he doesn't exist anymore and his picture starts to disappear and become different, if Jif has 2 F's instead of 1, and all pictures of that Jif jar that were in the background now dematerialize and rematerialize with an extra F or fewer F's. F that. It doesn't make sense. So no, I, it's just my own personal opinion, am not the one who studies this, but there's also a lot of physicists that would probably agree, because most ascribe to the block universe model. No, there's no point thinking about different alternative realities or different ways in which one thing could have happened, and then erases everybody's brains and pictures to make it different. But
what if it's like the phenomena, though, and affects everybody individually and differently?
Well, then you get into the simulation question. And I ask myself this a lot, like, am I in my own simulation where everything around me is only happening because that's the way I see it or manifest it in some way? I don't know. I feel like all these questions are related. That's why in my next book, I bring them all in. I acknowledged an error in my first book where I only talked about in the context of the block universe, a landscape time model, and am trying to, look at other ways of interpreting these things, as many have before. John Keel, Jacques Vallée. I mean, there's so many people that have done this before. So trying to bring that into the framework.
Dr. Michael Masters, we got him for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We are having a great time, and my audience says I got to bring you back a little bit more often than about every 2 years. They're having way too much fun with you tonight. He's going to be after this. He's going to be like, hell no. I bought a sweater last time. I'm done. We got him for another half an hour here.
I don't know the sweatshirt.
Yeah, he also owns a piano key tie, people. Dr. Michael Masters, next on Spaced Out Radio. We know you have a piano key tie. You're the kind of guy who would.
Yeah, I think my son was trying to get me to put one on. He was doing my makeup before we started. He was in charge of wardrobe and everything. And I told him I was going to wear a sweatshirt of the show I was going to be on. He's like, no, don't do that. Why would you do that?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And then you went to the wrestling mask. I felt like it was all...
Yeah, it was good.
It was all the way it should be. But when I told him I was putting a jacket back on, he was like, oh, thanks, Dad.
What grade is your son in?
He's 8. He's in second grade.
You know what? If we come down, I'll bring my boy. You bring your boy, because my boy's 8 as well.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
We'll do some squatch searching together in the mountains of Idaho. That sounds awesome. He'd love that.
Sure.
Yeah, he'd love that. He wants to go out hunting, but he's not quite old enough to go where I go. But squash hunting, that could be fun.
Yeah, I would. My boy comes with me. He's been hanging out with me as we go look for Sasquatch the last couple of years. He enjoys it. I think you put your microphone on mute.
Oh, sorry. And he can keep up, and he has fun, and 'cause that's how my kid is. Like, it doesn't matter if it's raining or he'll just go.
We hop in my side by side, and then it's off. So, I mean, we go and have some fun. We make sure we hit some puddles.
Do you guys hike, though? Are you going, like, deep into the...
When you need business mobility solutions that are more than just business as usual, you need Enterprise. A trusted partner, Enterprise has the expertise to help you go the extra mile. For the short term, for the long haul, and everywhere in between. So go with someone who thinks outside the box truck and get custom transportation solutions that maximize productivity, reliability, and savings. Go with Enterprise and start driving business.
The world around us is smart. We think your education should be smart too. With the FlexPath learning format from Capella University, you can set your own deadlines and leverage your experience to move forward at your pace. Visit capella.edu to learn more. Capella University. Don't just learn smarter.
I'm not a skilled outdoors person. And up here where we are, a lot of the areas where we have sightings and have found evidence, it's actually, thankfully, quite flat. I think we got flat Earth up here.
Would you be willing to go high, though, if you had to? Like, could you...
I honestly don't know if my knees could handle it. I remember going for my checkup at like 35, my doctor saying, "Congratulations, you got the knees of a 70-year-old." So I don't know.
I feel it. I'm not far from that. I already feel it. I was just curious about what level of like hiking or.
Dude, I'm fat for a reason. Let's just be honest.
You're not fat, man.
Well,
You're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I love you just the way you are, Dave.
I'm sending you an autographed hat. How about that?
Hey, how much time we got before the set break?
We've got about 2.5 minutes.
That's probably enough. So, what, like the terrain around you, you said it's flat, but it's pretty.
You can
like
go
Vancouver is mountainous, right?
Yeah, but
how's that work?
Well, when you go through the Fraser Canyon, like if you come through, like tonight, I will drive the Fraser Canyon. And weird story, a couple of years ago, I was driving back from the Lower Mainland, where Vancouver is, and got into this town called Yale, where there's always been Sasquatch sightings. And I pulled into this right before the town. In this town, you blink, you'll go through it. I pulled into the rest stop there because I had to go to the bathroom. And I got out of my vehicle, and I swore I saw the shadow of a Sasquatch standing right on the highway. And it was one of those things, you blink once, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, oh, man, that just kind of put every goosebump on my body up.
Right.
You know?
God, I'm so jealous, man. Like, you describe these experiences, and
if you want Sasquatch, you should do.
I mean, not even Sasquatch, but like UFOs, anything. I got nothing, man. I've literally not seen anything weird my entire life.
All right, we're gonna bring some woo to you. We're gonna bring some woo.
Bring the woo, brother. Bring me some woo.
Yeah, I gotta.
I'm talking about.
I'll get you in tune with Samantha Mowat. She'll bring that woo. All right.
Yeah, I want it.
Big thank you tonight to G West, Smelly, Michelle ×2, Christina Gomez, Worsley, and Eddie for the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support you give to SOR. Thank you to all of our new subscribers who have given us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, and hit that subscribe button. Here we go with the next half hour. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. I appreciate you tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight for the final time. Dr. Michael Masters is here. UFOs, aliens, time travelers from the future. Are they here? And we have some great audience questions for Dr. Masters as we go. He's from Montana Tech University. Good football program right there. They'll go 90 yards on you in no time. No time.
4 seconds. 90 and 4 is what we say. That's our motto.
That's awesome.
I don't know if that's possible. Can you go 90 minutes? 90 yards in 4 seconds? Or what if you went 90 minutes and 4 yards?
Yeah, that pretty much sounds like Canadian University.
That's what we do. That's what we do here. We go 90 minutes and 4 yards.
Mm-hmm. You know, never. I will say this: Canadian college football is not very good.
You're a hockey guy, from my understanding.
The football is good, but it's not American
You're a
good.
hockey guy.
I'm a hockey guy, but even don't even get me started.
Don't be ashamed. It's fine. You can be a hockey guy. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in it. You can like the weirdest sport ever. You can like geriatric pickleball, and it's still cool. If that's what does it for you, then great.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I have an
Carry on, Dave.
Thank you.
Your hockey is accepted among the Spaced Out Radio
Don't
listeners.
even get me
We
started.
accept you for who you are.
You have no idea. You have no idea how mad I am right now at hockey. No idea. But let's continue.
I don't want to know.
Alex would like to know, do you think the ET technology is similar to the technology or the same as they used potentially in the Philadelphia experiment?
I mean, the Philadelphia experiment was not something we should base anything on. No, it's not even, it maybe didn't even happen. So I don't know, but the technology they use could potentially explain the Philadelphia experiment if it is a moving in and out of time. However, when you're talking about moving an entire aircraft carrier in and out of time, we didn't have that technology. I don't think we'll ever have the technology in the future, or maybe we will. And maybe that'll be the thing that was always going to be that future human challenge, was to get this aircraft carrier to disappear just for a second. And then that's what it always was. So I don't know. If it always was that, then yes.
G. West wants to know, worldwide disclosure prediction. Who, what, where, when, why?
It's the Japanese in 2072 with the candlestick, and
I need a room.
The laboratory. Yeah.
I was thinking the kitchen.
No, it's got to be the bathroom. Like one of those small ones that rich people section off from the rest of it, where it's just like theirs so they can poop.
Yeah.
But then they can do their other weird rich stuff in other places.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out. But seriously, do you consider what's going on these days as disclosure or a confirmation or something completely different?
I do. I mean, I do. I know we've had some fun here tonight, Dave, as we often do. But I do feel like something different is happening. And it's so good to see. I mean, isn't this what we always wanted? And only probably I don't even know what percentage. But in my next book, I wrote a part where I compared it to the marijuana phenomenon. Because when I was a kid, it was so taboo to smoke marijuana or to like even talk about it, you know? And then over time, mostly thanks to Rick Steves in Seattle, we can now talk about it, and it's legal in many places. And it's becoming legal even in southern states where they weren't allowed to talk about it or ever consume it or have it. And it feels like the UFO situation is similar in the sense that we're going through that same process where it's like this thing that we had to have Rick Steves go and smoke it in Amsterdam and then come back and say, whoa, it's not that bad. And then it moves across our little tidbit of culture. And that's what feels like it's happening. And I feel like it's important. And I feel like it's going to continue. And I hope it does. And I don't see how it can stop at this point. What's going to stop it? I turn this question back around to you and your audience. What's going to stop it at this point?
The government.
Which one?
Well, those who are trying to put it right back under the rug, part of the AOI MSG. They don't want anything to do with it.
But don't you feel that there's enough momentum culturally that can't happen? And that has been happening. Can we still have it shut down at this point is my question. Is there enough momentum? Is the steam rolling enough that it will continue to roll? At what point in history has that happened is all I'm saying. And I'm not putting you on the spot, Dave. I'm not saying you have to ask. I said I'm turning this back on your listeners, too, who have the questions. Has there been a point in the history, as much as it's been blackballed, and trust me, I'm coming from academia, it's been blackballed AF in academia, has there been a time in history where it's been allowed to roll down the hill this freely? I don't think so. I think this is different. And it's so good to see.
Let's go to Marty. Do you have an opinion on what is Sasquatch, Paranthropus, or Gigantopithecus other?
Yeah, I just did an interview with Lee Spiegel about that for X Magazine. It's over there somewhere. Where I gave my views on that. I'm conservative. I'm definitely not a proponent of Bigfoot. I know that probably cuts you deep, Dave, because we're going to go looking for him soon. I'm going to dematerialize him in front of you right before you see him. But no, I just don't see how we would have seen it by now if it exists, and not just presently, but in the fossil record. Because what I do as a paleoanthropologist is I look through the fossil record and I look at how we got to be the way we are now through our morphology, our characteristics. And if we don't have another line that we can find in that archaeological record, there's no indication that there was another branch that came off that exists into the present. It makes it hard for me to say that it exists. I'm probably losing followers on your show left and right. I apologize for this because I do take a more critical stance, but it's only my opinion based on my career as a biological anthropologist. The only other thing I would say is that we're very social animals too. All primates are, with the exception of orangutans, who, as your sagacious listener pointed out, is probably very closely related to Gigantopithecus, and orangutans were one of the last ones to be found. We call them that. I think in that indigenous language it means old man in the forest because they're just this weird-looking creature that's very much like us that peeks out from the trees. But if they did exist, I just don't see how they wouldn't be, with the exception of the orangutan. Very curious as to what we're doing and constantly going through our trash in the way every other mammal does.
We'll agree to disagree.
We will fight about this in Idaho as we're walking up to look for Sasquatch. I think this is a good debate to have. I know you saw him, and I knew you wouldn't like that comment, but I think it's important that we always challenge everyone on all of their beliefs, because that's what we should be doing. What we're trying to do here is have a conversation where we push each other's boundaries, where we examine things. And the more we infight, the more we yell at each other, the more we make factions, it takes away from all that. All we need to be doing is furthering knowledge.
I agree.
In the most constructive way. So
I agree.
I put this out there, and we'll talk about it. We can talk about it now if you want to.
I cannot wait. We got a lot of questions for you, but I cannot wait to get you in the forest and see your reaction.
Dave,
when
God,
you see like a 15 to 18 inch footprint. I would love to see a reaction on that.
I would love to see it. Like I told you in the set break, I have never seen anything.
Yeah.
Even that, I would be like, sweet, I finally saw something.
Yeah. You know what? My guy who's coming on next, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, there he is. And Duke, I'm going to take you out here for a second. But he's in Montana as well. And,
no kidding.
And he has some amazing sightings. When we get to break, just stick through the break, and Duke will tell you some hot spots. But Jean-François, merci beaucoup for the super chat.
Merci beaucoup, Jean-François.
He is asking, Sign, Grudge, Blue Book, Robertson, Condon, U.S. Air Force, all justified closing the books on UAP for lack of evidence of threat to national security. What would make it different this time?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't know. It just feels different. Like those things existed in the past. We had all of the different government agencies that were working against us. The fact that this government agency, perhaps the most important one, the Pentagon, said in 2019 and 2021 that this is real, I think is different. Because Project Grudge, Blue Book, Sign, all of them, and others. I think there was like a Project Rainbow I just learned about. I might be wrong about that. They were the government. They were the government agency shutting it down. So now it feels like at least some of them, not the one that matters, the Air Force has not said jack all about this, but the ones that are saying things, I think, are at least important.
Geraldine Orozco, who's a regular on this show every month, and she's a good friend. I'll be seeing her hopefully tomorrow night in San Francisco for UFOCon. She is asking, can you talk a little bit about the physiological aspects of humans as they evolve into future ET humans? Big heads, big eyes, evolution of senses, and how does DNA express these traits?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main place I came from this, from which I came from this, I guess, where I was looking at in the context of long-term craniofacial changes where our faces retract, our teeth get smaller, and our brains not just move over top of the eyes, but also expand mediolaterally. And it's interesting because I have a co-author on some of my more legitimate publications who's one of the most prominent researchers in paleoanthropology, who's shown that it's actually the parietal aspects of our brain that expand more. Like we can see this, and obviously if you sit next to a chimpanzee, I can have it more because I get really shiny right here. But this part of our brain expands up and out. And if you look at a chimpanzee, they don't have that. But the parietal lobes are really what give us our bulbous, what we call neurocranial globularity, this really round head, which, and the only reason I bring this up is because in these different instances of close encounters, they're described with different facial and cranial features. Their eyes are a little bit different, but they always have those big round heads, which is an aspect of our craniofacial evolution. So not to nerd out too much in that, because that's kind of my favorite thing, but so much about what we have. What I would like to point out, though, is it's not just the grays. And that's another thing I got wrong in my first book, is that in researching this next one, it's not just long-term craniofacial evolution. They seemingly have the ability to come back in time very soon in our own future. They look exactly like us. They speak to us in our own languages, but with the exact same dialect, pronunciation. With the grays, a lot of it's telepathy. Even outside of that, when they do speak vocally, as more humans with the slightly bigger eyes, slightly bigger heads, they have an accent. But I think it's actually going to happen sooner than we think.
All right, let's move on, and thank you, Geraldine, for that question. Smelly Michelle is asking, what's your thoughts then when it comes to something like the topic of reincarnation? Do you believe in it? Do you think it's nothing?
No, absolutely. And this is another one of the questions that I love getting, that I know and should not know anything about, because I've never had a near-death experience or any sort of way of knowing what consciousness exists outside of our bodies. But I love getting these questions, because honestly, that's the only reason I'm here. Because I love thinking about things that just don't make sense and that I'd like to know more about. In studying, I wish I could remember. It was Jeffrey Kripal's book, Authors of the Impossible. He talks about this experience that Jacques Vallée had in his early age. I think his name was like Michel Foucault. No, that's like a philosopher. Michel something. But he's...
Here in C Spire country, the best network anywhere is all around you. It's up on our towers, where blazing fast 5G is turning your smartphone into a superphone. It's under your feet, where we lay gigabit fiber to make the internet faster than you've ever seen. It's powering your phones, feeds, tablets, TVs, and businesses. So now the best technology anywhere is right here. Welcome to C Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps ahead.
Spring is on at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Get a 4-burner outdoor gourmet grill for just $149.99. Catch 25% off all H2O Express fishing gear. And get BCG activewear starting at $7.99. Shop your store or academy.com. Ends March 27th. Exclusions and restrictions apply. See academy.com/disclaimers.
Then you start out studying UFOs, and next thing you know, you're studying Arab mystics. And that's where this takes you, you know? And the fact that I get questions like that as I'm supposed to be talking about biological evolution is awesome. And I love that we can have these conversations, and I think we should. I have no credentials. It's just my thought. But yes, I think our existence, our soul, if we can call it that, never would have used that word even a year ago, is something. I mean, anyone who's done DMT or MDMA or psilocybin or ayahuasca or anything has experienced like that soul, whatever it is. Anybody who's paid attention to energy or empathy, I think, has experienced that too.
We got 4 minutes left with you. Let's get in Excalibur's question. Even if it is just a guess, what % of your fellow professors would be okay now with a colleague at their university doing UAP research?
At my university or a theoretical university.
Well, let's say yours.
I've thought about that. I'm reassessing from the last time I thought about it, which was 2 years ago. 92, which includes the top administrators at my university. They're very not only accepting but encouraging of my work.
But do you think that it is time for universities to start opening up into full spectrum of UAP research? Or is it too new yet?
Yeah, no. I feel like I got lucky. I did things right. You know, I had a very credible track record and respectable publication record on my craniofacial and evolutionary anatomy and biomedical research. But I don't feel like we're quite there, and that's okay. It's going to take time, and that's fine.
Tell us about your new book you're writing.
It's called the Extra Tempestra model. It looks deeper into the abduction aspect of it, the sort of personal aspects of it. It's a little. I feel like I overlooked that. I mentioned earlier in the show I overlooked the multiverse aspect, all-dimensional, interdimensional simulation about this, all those things. But I also overlooked how real these experiences are for people. And after having met so many and just reading their accounts, I feel like this needs to be considered too. It's more about those experiences, but also how it fits in or doesn't fit in. Sometimes it doesn't always fit in with this extra tempesture model. Other interpretations of the UFO phenomenon as well.
I gotta get you to meet Samantha Mowat. Have to. She will blow your mind.
I'm in.
You know,
if the sun's up, I'm down.
I actually put it this way: back in 2014, 25 minutes after I met her, she walked me into a forest where there was an alien standing there in the forest. She called it.
I would love to be a part of that.
There are people that I know that are very close to the UFO subject, and I can't say who, that have their eye on her, and they have literally told me she should not know what we know.
Interesting.
Yeah. She is... I don't even know how to explain her. I really don't. It is the scariest yet most awesome thing.
Dude, I gotta tell you, man, after that trip to Houston at Rice University, what you just said seems normal. I would love to hear a story. I would love to. And I think we all should. I think we should all listen to everyone that has something to say. I think that's going to be a really important part going forward is
I agree.
Listening to each other. Feeling, not just listening, but feeling other people's experiences.
Sean Cahill, Luis Elizondo's right-hand man, is saying that exact same thing. It's about feeling people and their experiences.
Empathy, man. Empathy.
Yeah,
it's so lacking in the past, and we need that. We need to get that back. And from all of these experiences, from all of these, and I don't have it, so I'm just speaking from others' experiences, but all of these close encounters, all of these different cases of contact have deep empathy.
I agree. Dr. Michael Masters, we got to wrap it up right there. Thank you so much for coming on at Spaced Out Radio again. Coming up next, let's head to the swamp to kick off hour number 3 right after this.
Howdy, Dave. See you next time.
Well, we're going to have to edit that out. Hi, Super Duke.
Hey, Dave.
He's hilarious. He's hilarious.
He's a typical Montanan.
I got to get you and him together.
I'll make his head explode. He didn't even have to wait to get together with me. He could just look at the new video I turned out today.
I'll be right back, okay?
Yep. I can see you guys in chat if anybody has a comment or question or anything. Al Menial Scientist, howdy, howdy. See, Marlene is still with us. Hey, Marlena. A Carfanubra. What? V. Hey, Steve. Fidgety. Jessica. So, yeah, the video that we released from last September's expedition, we turned out last weekend. As it turns out, we caught one on video moving. And the amazing Bama Bigfoot is the one that spotted it. And I went back and looked at it. And it's like, yeah, we got more than one on video. One of them tries to jump and duck from the camera. And then there's some other weird thing with it that we haven't even been able to ID. It looks like a little, kind of like a raccoon maybe, but it isn't. Or like a little wolf puppy or a dog or, nobody's been able to figure out what it is exactly yet. It looks like some kind of a small animal, a pet or baby dog man. I don't know. And then there's some other blue glowing thing on the other side of the tree from him that's even more peculiar looking. But yeah, when you get the camera on him and he's nice and in focus, he panics and tries to jump on and hide, which of course draws your attention when something's moving. So we spotted him. Hey, Corruption Czar Network. I had Jimmy Church on my show too, and I was on his. I hope Dave's okay and he didn't get mugged by that El Obni Volador guy again. Let me get this thing into a decent distance here. Nicholas, it's actually already out on Rumble, and it'll be out on YouTube tomorrow. 12 minutes long. It's just World Bigfoot TV. It is a breakdown of the clip that was noticed by Bama Bigfoot in the video from last weekend. Episode 129, part 2. Middle part of the September expedition that we did here with William Lunsford, the folk monster hunter, and Eric the Adventure Man, as well as my team. Need to get my other chair in here. This one isn't very comfortable.
All right. Hi, Super Duke. I just want to say to our audience, so you guys understand what's going on this weekend, myself and Lynn Wallington are going to UFOCon 2022 this weekend in San Francisco. I am leaving literally in about 90 minutes, heading to Vancouver, making the 5.5-hour drive to Vancouver to catch my plane in the morning. So it's an all-nighter for me. And so after hours, we'll be back on Saturday and Sunday with Big Willie, Jim and Jade, and John Hudson. And then I will be back on Monday with Lon Strickler. So it's going to be a busy, fast turnaround. But we're going to do it, damn it. We're going to do it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Super Duke, how you doing, buddy?
Spectacular. I'm finally starting to be feeling better after being sick for about a month. And the video that we turned out on Sunday was actually the middle of our September expedition. For once, it wasn't me that did it. It was somebody else on the team that actually got him on video. And this one's even better than usual because when he accidentally got him on video, they were in focus and panicked and tried to dive off out of the way so he couldn't see him anymore and hide behind a tree. And we got it on video. And I just put that out. It's on Rumble right now, and it's going to be out on YouTube tomorrow evening for anybody that wants to watch it. 12 minutes of awesomeness. And it includes a whole section of video around it where it was shot and then goes through it and shows a slow motion breakdown, screen crops, all that good stuff. So, yep, for all the trolls out there that like to say, it's just pareidolia, it's just light and shadows. Yeah, light and shadows, the pareidolia that has a face that jumps out of the way to get off camera. Sure.
Beautiful.
You got lots of crow? I hope you do, because here's your fork. Start eating.
Right. A couple questions from our audience about UFOCon. I will be speaking tomorrow night. And, Duke, I'm so glad you're feeling better, buddy. So glad. Big thank you to Eddie, Worsley, Shelley ×4, Christina, G. West, Marty, and Jean-Francois. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth, hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, UGTON. UGTON is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again for us to head into the swamp, where our resident swamp dweller takes us on another edition of A Spooky Story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I have been contemplating submitting my stories, and while listening to the Mississippi Horror Stories episode, one story reminded me of my experience that I have been thinking of sharing. I want to share more in the future, but this one is the most recent. I am a young woman in my early 20s. I am a full-time college student, but I like to travel as much as I can because I do photography. And this past year, I have picked up solo traveling and road trips. I live in North Carolina, and as I was driving on my way back from visiting Atlanta, Georgia, I have been making this trip since I was a child because my family is from around there, and since traveling on my own, I had made this trip quite a few times. I am very comfortable making this trip. I like traveling late at night because there's no traffic, so the time frame of this story is between 1 to 2 a.m. I am in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina at the time. It couldn't have been too middle of nowhere because I was on the interstate, and I'm familiar with this interstate, but there is a part that doesn't have much of anything for quite a while. I had not seen any signs for gas stations. The signage was all dirty and outdated. You know the look. So I knew I was in the country, but I didn't really know where I was in the country, and I really had to use the bathroom. I usually try to avoid rest stops late at night, but I had a feeling one was coming up before a gas station, and sure enough, one came up in about 2 miles. I am pulling in and notice it seems very desolate. You know, when you're in an area that just seems like it hasn't seen people in quite a while, but at the same time, There were a couple of cars in the parking lot, and the parking lot on the other side was full of 18-wheelers. So I really wasn't nervous at all about going to the bathroom. I'm not a very fearful person in general. As I am pulling into the parking lot, you know how rest stops are, usually just the one way in and one way out. I am driving in, taking note of the cars in the parking lot, and right as the parking lot starts, I notice a truck or SUV with a trailer. Parked right by the entrance, but there's no parking spaces. It's just facing out towards the parking lot, so it's a decent distance from the main building, parked parallel to the driveway that brings you in. I hope this is making sense. So, I notice this, and I don't really think anything about it. For some reason I tell myself no one is in there. It was very dark and I couldn't see in the windows when I passed by. I pulled into the closest spot possible to the bathroom. I am about to turn off my car, but I wait to situate myself a little, taking off my headphones, grabbing trash, and waiting to see if someone comes out of the bathroom. I also decide to say a little prayer. I specifically said, "God, please keep me safe," but I know you will, like you always do. I am not bothered at all because I really need to use the bathroom, and just as I am about to get out of the car, I decide to look at my surroundings again. There are 3 cars in total in the parking area, one of which is parked beside me, another behind me in the direction of the entrance, and the SUV I previously described. And now I notice their headlights were on. I cannot definitively remember them being on or not when I drove past, but I do remember barely being able to see the vehicle in the first place. So I assumed they turned them on when I pulled into my spot. Because of how they were parked facing towards the parking lot, their lights were shining right in the direction of my car. I found this kind of weird, but I thought maybe they could be walking their dog or something. But I looked and saw no one outside. I looked at the other 2 cars in the parking lot, too, and noticed still no one had come out of either one of them. I also noticed they seemed like they had not been turned on in a while either. This probably sounds crazy, but I just felt the coldness from the vehicles, like the engine had not been running a little while, and that was extremely odd to me, that there were cars further back behind me that were completely fogged up. That thick, watery condensation fog, as if somebody had been sitting in there, breathing. Now, maybe there were people getting high or having sex in there, maybe even both. But like I said, it just gave the feeling like it had not been turned on in a while, and both vehicles I assumed were empty for sure. That's why I was waiting to see if at least one of the owners would come out from the bathroom or not. I just wanted to see some type of movement before I left my car, and usually if there are cars at the rest stop, you're bound to see someone going in or out. Some type of movement at least. But I just couldn't shake that feeling that something was off. I was convinced that these 2 other cars had been sitting a while, and that was just too odd to me because who would leave 2 seemingly perfect cars in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina at a rest stop? A completely empty parking lot would have been more comforting to me. And why was this one vehicle facing me with their lights on? As I previously mentioned, I am not a very scared person. I believe you attract your fears and such through negative thinking, and I believe if you conjure negative thoughts, negative things will come to you. So it was very disturbing to me when I pictured myself going to the bathroom and being attacked on my way out. I am rarely paranoid, and this is the most paranoid I have felt in a long time.
Oh, just enough to put a chill down your spine. Thank you, Mr. Swamp Dweller at Swamp Dweller Reads on YouTube. He's about to crack like 270,000 subscribers right now. Wonder what it's like to get like 1,000 subscribers a week, Super Duke. I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably never know.
Me either, man. Me either. We don't even get 1,000 a month, and he's getting 1,000 a week right now. Oh, the lucky guy. But he works hard, and he deserves it. Hey, who's that guy who just talked? That's Super Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio. All right, each and every night, well, a couple times a week, Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio comes on in, flies on in because he does wear a cape, and joins us for the Cryptid Report. He is our cryptid historian here, who always has a great, chilling tale from the past about Bigfoot. What do you got for us tonight, Duke?
Well, I'm going to continue on with what we were talking about the last time I was on, with a myriad of mountain giant reports from the past, from the West, from Canada, from Alaska. And for all of you that routinely tune in to check out my little appearances here on Dave's incredibly awesome show, I'd like to direct all of you to the fact that yesterday, my counterpart who takes over occasionally, BMR, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, was a guest on my show. So you can listen to both of us chat and Rob tell his incredibly terrifying Bigfoot encounter. You guys want to go check that one out.
Calling all partners. Losing weight is better together with Nutrisystem's Partner Plan. In fact, people who diet together lose 20% more weight than dieting on their own. Get new premium meals with up to 30 grams of protein. They're big and filling and taste delicious. Plus, try our new restaurant faves that taste like your favorite restaurant, portioned with half the calories. Don't wait. You could win big cash during Nutrisystem's Better Together Partner Plan 100K giveaway. And maybe win the grand prize of $25,000. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off your first month. You heard me right. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Don't wait. This partner plan offer will not last long. Just go to Nutrisystem.com/thin right now and get 50% off plus an extra $50 off. Go to Nutrisystem.com/thin. See website for details on our 2-month subscription offer. No purchase necessary. Open only to U.S. residents over 21. Void where prohibited. Runs December 25 through April 4th, 2022. For official rules, visit Nutrisystem.com. Sponsored by Nutrisystem, Inc.
Spring is on at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Get a 4-burner outdoor gourmet grill for just $149.99. Catch 25% off all H2O Express fishing gear. And get BCG activewear starting at $7.99. Shop your store or academy.com. Ends March 27th. Exclusions and restrictions apply. See academy.com/disclaimers.
All right.
So, getting on with the program here. Like I referenced last time, this is from a book called True Giants with Mark A. Hull and famed cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman, where they basically compiled a lot of reports of things that may or may not have been lumped into the Sasquatch Bigfoot category, but on closer examination do not appear to be them. So let's check out a few here, and I'll give you my take on them where appropriate. And the last time we were talking about Kiki Was and his grandson seeing a mountain giant walking past him as he was hiding in a field. The recollections of Hunter Russell Annabelle about his youth spent in Alaska include knowledge of mountain giants. He and Hunter Tex Cobb heard much about the Gilyuk, the shaggy cannibal giant, sometimes called the big man with a little hat, which is literally what that name means. And in this case, the little hat is referring to the point at the top of the head of mountain giants, and some of these other weird gigantic cryptids could be the same thing as a sagittal crest in larger primates like gorillas. Nobody is sure, of course. The personal knowledge of the Gilyuk came after a summer spent on the Nelchina Plateau, where they met a party of Indians headed by Chief Stickman. To the Indians, the Gilyuk had never been a legend. It was an animal as real as any other in the woods. The Indians showed the two hunters the sign of the Gilyuk, a recently twisted birch sapling. It was 4 inches thick and 10 feet tall before it was twisted and began to wilt. The Indians were very afraid of Gilyuk because, as Annabelle wrote, quote, he was a shaggy giant who wore a little hat and ate men. The following night, Chief Stickman went from his camp to a nearby lake and vanished. The only trace of him was a torn garment, the one he had been wearing. The Indians quickly left the area. Also in Alaska, mountain giants have been recorded as simply giants by Lieutenant W.R. Abercrombie in his report on an expedition to the Copper River Valley in 1884. He says, like the Yakutut, Chilkat, Kolosh, and Ugalensi, these people entertain some curious ideas respecting the tribes living far in the interior of the country upon whose shores they dwell, which must from their nature be purely fabulous. Thus the Kanatsi have a tradition that not over 200 years ago, the mountains northward were inhabited by a race of giants who occasionally made raids upon their villages and whose personal strength and size were such that the unfortunate Kanatsi who fell within the grasp of these monsters would be seized by their feet and killed by smacking their heads against an object, rock, tree, whatever, after which their bodies were stored away in the parkees of these giants. Also, in the olden days, 1890s, anthropologist Franz Boa claims to have found true giant skeletons mountain giants identified as the Sufa, Tsufa, among the Indians living along the Skeena River in British Columbia. Hey, that's near you, Dave.
Yes, it
that's
is.
British Columbia.
I know.
They were so big they would pick up a beaver lodge and shake out the occupants. A beaver was only a mouthful for them. Michael Mason toured the North Country and wrote in The Arctic Forest, that's the name of the book, how the Kutchin Indians feared the Mahoney, a.k.a. the Nahoney. This name appears to have been borrowed from another nearby area and tradition of the Nakani, or Bushmen, who are described as burly and modestly sized Neanderthals. The description given by Mason for the Mahoney, however, is a dead ringer for mountain giants. Quote, the Mahoney inhabit a specified locality, the mountainous regions around the headwaters of the Porcupine and Peel River, sometimes wandering as far west as Kandik Creek. Therefore, most of this country is avoided by the Indians. The Mahoney are terrible wild men with red eyes and of enormous height, completely covered with long hair. They live without any fire and, whenever possible, eat human flesh. The Mahoney leave man-like footprints 3 feet long and will eat a whole birch tree torn up by the roots, only throwing away the twigs. What's this weird thing with birch trees? Birch bark has a property which is very similar to aspirin. Anthropologist J.J. Honigman noted that the giants of the Casca Indians as the cannibalistic big men, the Tanatko, who used no dwelling but sometimes dug holes in the ground. Again, in Alaska, mountain giants are still a subject of conversation. Enormous tracks are found up to, including, and in excess of 24 inches. The track record Andreas Trotman and Jim Rapine have learned of incidents of these creatures near Iliamna, Alaska. And I've separately investigated that. And yeah, they're not kidding. I've talked to a couple natives from up there about this. The natives of the area call the creature the big man, but are reluctant to talk about it to the whites. Native parents won't let their young hunters roam in the area around Zimna Falls, 25 miles from Iliamna, because they believe that is where the home caves of the big man are. It's technically on the other side of the mountain range to the north of the lake. They don't want to have to explain to the big man why their children meddled in his territory. One lady did comment saying the big men travel in pairs, sometimes 2 or 3. Says Linda Johnson, the native born and raised there. You see, they have families just like us. They're not too smart, not like people, but they know what's going on. They know. Another individual from the village implored people, don't let the big men be hunted and hounded. They live here too. When the old people of the village were young, the big men needed to come by and poke sticks at the youngsters and throw an occasional rock. They travel at night and they eat fish. And again, this comes up a lot where they steal fish out of fish nets and fish traps and stuff like that. That's like a constant legend amongst all of the western coastal native people. How are we doing on time here? Got plenty.
We got plenty.
The Amarukarara, or uphill people in California, seem to also describe the figure of a true giant. Charles Edson, an early pioneer of California Bigfoot stories, had also heard of mountain giants from an elderly trapper. The man told Edson he had seen such a giant, one over 15 feet tall. Edson simply did not believe him because it was so much taller than the usual Bigfoot reports he had heard about more often. Once in a while, the appearance of one of these things gets some widespread newspaper coverage, and this happened in Alberta as recently as 1969. A mountain giant appeared within sight of the construction site for the Bighorn Dam. The dam is on the North Saskatchewan River, west of Nordegg, and for people that are fans of a certain Bigfoot researcher out there, he does a lot of his research in Nordegg. Several witnesses mutually supported the view that they had of the tall, hairy beast. They also had the benefit of trees near where the giant stood, so they could judge with accuracy of their estimates of its height by measuring the trees it was standing next to. On August 23rd, 5 construction workers reported seeing a dark figure moving about on a ridge overlooking the site. The men were Floyd Hengen, Dale Boddy, Harley Peterson, Stan Peterson, and Guy Lehuro. The figure was as tall as the spruce trees beside it. This meant it was at least 15 feet tall. The figure watched the men for a while. It sat down, then finally stood up and strode away, taking long steps. The local Indians had been seeing a group of 4 such creatures in the area, but they had said nothing until the excitement was raised in August at the dam site. He does not mention it here in this report, but the fact of the matter is that the first guy saw this thing, and after about 10 minutes, called the attention of the other guys around him working to it, and it was actually sitting up there watching them for 45 minutes. Another episode of some notoriety took place right here in Montana. It's all about Montana tonight. Woohoo! And this one's really creepy. Again, it occurred in August. 3 men were chased from a hill in Belt Creek Canyon by what they described as a 15-foot tall hairy creature. They were airmen from Malmstrom Air Force Base, and he means pilots. But only one of them came forward and allowed his name to be published. He was Fred C. Wilson. He took and passed a polygraph test on this incident. The other 2 men confirmed the story to the press but remained anonymous. The 3 were with 2 youngsters that day. Some of them's kids. They were intending to camp on a hill above Belt Creek. A thunderstorm developed at 2 a.m. on August 20th. They decided to go back to their vehicle. On their way, they heard a noise. The Great Falls Tribune reported what Wilson said happened next. Quote, I turned on my flashlight and saw this huge creature standing beside a tree only about 25 yards away, Wilson said. We watched it for about 10 seconds before it moved off into the trees. Then we ran for the car. According to Wilson, the creature was walking upright across a clearing when the men reached the vehicle. One of his companions fired 2 shots from a shotgun to frighten the, quote, animal, unquote, away. Oh, is that a bad idea? Quote, the shots were not fired at the animal, but into the trees adjacent to it, unquote, Wilson said. We were not trying to shoot it. We just wanted to keep it away from us so we could get out of there. But their action had the opposite of what they were hoping, reaction from the creature, and they said the ape-like creature charged instead and got within about 20 feet of the vehicle before they managed to get it in gear and take off at high speed. Wilson gave this account of it, quote, it looked like a semi-truck coming at us. It took 40-foot strides. It was hideous. It had small apish-type eyes, a flattened nose, and canine-type fangs, which showed when its mouth was open. Its face was totally covered with hair, and the head was oblong. This is a very important point here, that most of the natives who identify these different sightings of these mountain giants tend to mention that particular thing about them. How much time have we got still?
We got 3 minutes.
We're kind of running out here. Maybe I'll get one more in. New Mexico, August 2005. 3 tall and hairy creatures were reported in mid-August at Nenenazad. After refreshing clarity, the people in the know in New Mexico refused to equate the local reports of hairy figures, 10 to 12 feet tall, with Bigfoot. They insisted the reports made sense as being the giant they knew as Yeitzo. As Ryan Hall of the Farmington Daily Times reported, according to William Sozi of Shiprock, which is where Caveman lives, by the way, Bigfoot doesn't exist in their Navajo culture per se, but Yeitzo is a giant oafish creature similar to the Anglo concept. It really means monstrous, he said. This is not technically accurate, since I know people that are actually Navajo experts. Yeitzo was a giant that at one time was an enemy of the tribe and used to come into their territory, grab humans and haul them away and eat them, and threaten them if he didn't like them. He could speak their language and everything too. And according to their legends, the hero twins, with their very strange weapons that they called lightning sun bows and lightning arrows, helped them defeat and kill Yeitzo, so he wasn't eating people anymore. And as far as I know, if they do have an actual name for Bigfoot, they won't tell anybody what it is. I haven't heard it yet. And even Caveman refers to him as Hastin Zistloi, which in Navajo means the big man. So anyway, over the course of the 20th century, tracks of over 20 inches long and showing 4 prominent toes were reported at Pitt Lake, British Columbia in 1965, Snoqualmie, Washington, and Cold Lake, Alberta in 1976, Abbey, Alberta in 1977, Yakult, Washington 1980, and Prineville, Oregon 1996. There's no doubt the vast and forested mountainous spaces of the American West have long been a home to strange creatures, many of which we still may not have documented due to their intelligence and ability to hide from us.
Wow. That's powerful stuff there, Super Duke. Powerful stuff.
Yeah,
and it just,
I want to get over to Belt Creek where those guys got chased by that 15-footer.
Mm-hmm. You know, it just goes to show, Duke, as we got about 45 seconds left, how diverse this creature is in its surroundings.
And yeah, on some of these accounts, like when they're talking about the Gilyuk is a Sasquatch. It's just the local name for it. They get very big. This is up near where Blaine Tyler is, and he's photographed some giant ones. But a lot of these things might not actually be Sasquatch because you keep getting these reports. What are these things? They're huge. They leave four-toed tracks. They seem to be substantially bigger than average Sasquatch. They're much more aggressive. They do eat people. Yeah. So it's leading you to think that there's some other much smaller population, lesser known cryptids that are still out there. And this falls in line with what the Scandinavians talked about with their mountain giant legends. They're talking, mountain trolls. Same thing.
You got that right. World Bigfoot Radio's Super Duke can be found on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe on that. When we come back, it's Dave 101. Then we got Shirky Poo's news as we take this home in the final half hour before I make my way to San Francisco. Spaced Out Radio will be back right after this. Super Duke.
There you go, Dave. A myriad of mountain giant reports for you, including some ones up there in your neck of the woods. So you can have something scary to look for on your drive down in the middle of the night.
Last time I came home from San Francisco, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. And I came into a small town called Lytton, which no longer exists after getting wiped out in the forest fires last year.
Yeah.
And I for years, Duke, like 40 years that I've traveled on that highway, I've seen the elk signs. And I come around this corner on the bend, and what the hell is that on the road? Duke, for about 5-10 minutes, I sat there, put my vehicle in park. I was surrounded by 20-30 elk.
And what are you going to do? You can't argue with them. They'll F up your vehicle.
Didn't realize they were that big. Did not realize they were that big.
Yeah. You know what I didn't realize was that big is bighorn sheep. Some of them are like pony-sized, dude, and they will ram you.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was coming up to our research area, and there's this one section of road where it's about like 500 to 800 foot clip on one side. And they get up to this one area where there's this kind of a steep incline. You can get up to it, and there's a whole herd of bighorn sheep there. Yeah. And they're using the road for a nice handy access for ways. And you ain't getting past them until they decide to amble back off the road again. Yeah. So he got held up for about 20 minutes waiting for the bighorns to get the hell off the road.
Mm-hmm.
Good humor.
It's going to be interesting, though, because I haven't been down to the lower mainland since before all the flooding that wiped out all the highways.
Wow.
So
yeah, it's way different down here.
So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out and what it's like. And, I know there's a couple of stops that I'm going to have to make because they're doing 24-hour construction in order to, make it like they got one of them, what do they call those? One of the one-way Bailey bridges.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But, I mean, Duke, at the best of times driving that highway, you're lucky if you see a car.
Yeah.
At night.
Well, and you're going down in the middle of the night when, predators might be chasing something around and just happen to run across the road. Have your dash cam ready.
Yeah. Right.
You're a paranormal magnet. This stuff is going to happen to you. If it happens to anybody, you'll be the one that'll have it happen.
All I know is this. If I miss my flight, blame the aliens. Blame the
Dang aliens. Yeah. Well, they'll get you there earlier.
Well.
Just hitch a ride to them.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
I just hope I don't have to provide a COVID passport for them.
Yeah.
But that's another story for another time. But, I should actually pack a couple of these. Mm-hmm. The only thing I've forgotten so far to pack is I got to stop at the gas station and get myself a few packs of these Fisherman's Friends. And they're damn good. They're easy on the throat.
Right on.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm good.
Well, when you got 12 minutes, make sure you put your helmet on so your head doesn't explode. And check out that new video that I'm releasing here on YouTube tomorrow. It's already up on Rumble, and I sent you the link on MeWe, so you can watch it whenever you want.
All right. I will do that. I will do that.
Yeah, we don't. There's one. Well, there's more than one Sasquatch that we catch on video, but there's two other things there we can't ID, and one of them we can't figure. It's some kind of. It looks like some kind of small animal. Like maybe it's what a Fisher cat looks like out here. I've never seen them outside of Wisconsin,
maybe a marten?
Minnesota. No, it's too big for a marten. I mean, it almost looks like a little dogman or a little baboon-looking thing or something. It's hard to tell. You only can see its head, but it's got ears. Mm-hmm. And then it's right next to it, I don't know, friend, owner, whatever, the Sasquatch that gets antsy and ducks behind the tree. So you can't be passed off as pareidolia when you're moving, dude. And then right to the other side of the tree from him, there's this weird glowing blue thing that we can't figure out what that is. Robin's looked at it too, and she said it's putting off a lot of energy, but I don't know what the hell that is.
I'll check it out.
Speaking of which, Robin is super excited to be back on your show again. And as it turns out, she's scheduled to be back right after you come back from your big, happy event down there in Las Vegas.
Right on.
And that same weekend, me and Robin and a bunch of other Bigfoot people, including Ron Moorhead, will be doing a Bigfoot conference in Nebraska.
Nice.
An equally far distance from here as you would be down in Vegas.
Well, I know your hair will look perfect for that, so thank you. Duke, I got to say goodnight to you, buddy. You take care, okay?
Drive safe.
Thanks, buddy. Much love. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio. Thank you to Eddie, Worsley, Michelle times 4, Christina, Marty, Jean-Francois, and G. West and Kat for the amazing super chats. Thank you, everyone. Here we go with the final half hour. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again for Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
All right, if you look at the UFO world these days, especially over the last few weeks, there are a number of chill pills that need to be handed out to a plethora of people in this dog-eat-dog type world that UFOs and
Here in C Spire country, the best network anywhere is all around you. It's up on our towers, where blazing fast 5G is turning your smartphone into a superphone. It's under your feet, where we lay gigabit fiber to make the internet faster than you've ever seen. It's powering your phones, feeds, tablets, TVs, and businesses. So now the best technology anywhere is right here. Welcome to C Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps ahead. Here in C Spire country, the best network anywhere is all around you. It's up on our towers, where blazing fast 5G is turning your smartphone into a superphone. It's under your feet, where we lay gigabit fiber to make the internet faster than you've ever seen. It's powering your phones, feeds, tablets, TVs, and businesses. So now the best technology anywhere is right here. Welcome to C Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps ahead.
UFO Twitter has happened. All right. The one thing that I want to say is this. The entire UFO world really, really needs to take a bunch of chill pills right now because we are overhyped, overzealous, and overextended on the topic at hand. And really, in my opinion, it is not doing any good for the study of ufology. In fact, there are times when I think we look like a bunch of fools to the rest of the public whom we are trying to convince this is real, this is the subject that we need to be taking seriously, and for those who don't believe, follow our leads. How can we ask anybody to follow our leads when there are so many of us who are literally acting in lunacy? No one is allowed to have an opinion. No one is allowed to have a focus. Accusations flying abound from anybody who's an experiencer is a liar, to nobody asks tough questions, to Luis Elizondo is someone who is Satan himself in the UFO world, to those who don't believe that people should have different profiles. Now, a couple of good people who are really duking it out these days, good friends of this show, both of them, Luis Jimenez from UCR, Unidentified Celebrity Review, and Thomas Fessler from Disclosure Tonight, they are both good people. They are both passionate people. Both have great YouTube channels that I suggest all of our audience should really subscribe to. They are people who are extremely passionate about this subject. But a topic came up earlier this week where it's caused a lot of infighting again. It really pitted side versus side. Luis Elizondo, the man who really walks around the UFO world with controversy, whether or not he deserves it, that's another story. Well, he came out on UCR saying that he uses sock puppet accounts to get into conversation and to maybe steer people into directions of what he is trying to say. Now, let's remember, Luis Elizondo is counterintelligence trained. He was a counterintelligence officer. And this is a man who is a very respected veteran of the United States Army and a very, very unique individual. He's polarizing. He's captivating. The UFO world hangs on every single word he says. This gentleman literally gets broken down and taken apart for every sentence he says, more than the JFK film or the Patterson-Gimlin film combined. So, during his comments, Rather Be Squidding, yes, stage name, Rather Be Squidding, at Be Squidding on Twitter, comes out and challenges Elizondo on why he has sock accounts. And says he doesn't like it. Great. He has an opinion. But there are many people out there who disagree. Think Rather Be Squidding should shut up. I'm on the fence with this because I've met some famous people over my time, and I understand why they have sock accounts. It's a difficult world out there, especially if you are famous for one thing or another. Whether you're Lou Elizondo for UFOs, whether you are famous for your music, famous for your athleticism, famous for politics, famous for movies or television, or maybe you're just somebody with fame in your own town. Maybe you're a reporter, a journalist, a television host, the mayor, whatever it may be. People use sock accounts so they can say what they want. Now, of course, there is danger in that because it does create a lot of havoc on places like Twitter and Facebook. But for those who deem it necessary who are of a bigger stature and name, I have no problem with it. In fact, a good friend of mine who's been involved in the music industry for over 30 years told me once that on his profile of Facebook, he has dozens of musicians who are using sock accounts. Why do they do that? They do it because if people knew their rightful perspective on things like politics, on things like movies, or musicians who are getting pushed while others do not by the record companies, they'd be out of a job. Their music contracts would be canceled. That's how fickle that world is. It's walking on eggshells for most people who are famous, because we now have people out there who are committed to this whole cancel culture era that we are in, where if you say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing 15, 20 years ago, that is somehow, even though the majority of us have changed in 15, 20 years, and not just in hair color or body type, that somehow that should be held as guilty as charged for what we do and how we act today. It's very fickle. So I don't blame Luis Elizondo for having an account. The way he's been attacked by people on Twitter. There is the dubious documentary that has been made about him, doxing. Some people call it him, his family, his wife, his children. I wouldn't want to go through that. But I will tell you who is going to lose after all the dust settles. Ufology is going to lose big time. Big time. How is ufology going to lose? Well, let me tell you. For decades, we have been wishing, and we talked about it on this show prior to Lou Elizondo even being a household name in this field, that we wished that there would be someone with the cojones enough to come out of the Pentagon and into the public eye and say, UFOs are real. Well, guess what? Christmas morning came on October 11th, 2017, when the now defunct To the Stars Academy, which I predicted they would fail, announced Luis Elizondo, head of the ATIP program at the Pentagon. And he comes out and says, I know they're real. He has stated over hundreds of interviews the last couple years that they are real. He has given Easter eggs for people in ufology to pick up on, which most have not. He has given clues to situations like Roswell and other crash sites that the United States of America may indeed have crash retrievals and alien bodies. And then when pressed, can't say anything due to my NDA agreement with the United States government. Why? Because he doesn't want to go to jail. He doesn't want the repercussions. So we got what we wanted. We got Elizondo. We got Chris Mellon as a bonus. But for some in this field, that's not good enough. And look, even to me, it's not good enough. Because I want to know. We all want to know. And as I said to somebody who is very close to Elizondo recently, you have to understand, this is a quote I said, even though I'm quoting, but I'm paraphrasing. I said, you have to understand, if you're driving in a car, ufology is in first gear going into second. Where Elizondo and his crew are going from fifth gear to sixth. They are way ahead. We have been dealing with breadcrumbs our entire lives in this field. Doesn't matter whether it was somebody like the late, great Stanton Friedman, or somebody like Richard Dolan, or somebody who just turned 80 years old recently, and Linda Moulton Howe. or new people who are out there who just jumped on the bandwagon because they saw it on the news a couple of years ago and they went, holy cow, this is something I want to dig my teeth into. It doesn't matter. We have only been given breadcrumbs. And now we've been asked to have a little taste of the steak and the mashed potatoes, garlic flavored, of course, and the asparagus and the carrots and the mushrooms. And we've been given a taste. And what have we done? We've spit it out all over the place. Like it's non-existent. Like, oh, this is what it's like? Ew, I don't want anything like that. No. Look, I'm not saying Luis Elizondo doesn't deserve some of the criticism. Okay? Because when you work in a position like that, you got to come ready to rumble every day. And he knows that. Being in the watchful public eye, he knows that he is a target for what he has talked about. He accepted that role. Maybe he didn't accept it to be as personal as it's become, nor should it have become that personal. But it did. It's because he's polarizing. But ufology has to realize that we're like a Cinderella song. We don't know what we got until it's gone. And it wouldn't surprise me, because of the way we all have acted towards Elizondo, his friends, and this entire subject, it wouldn't surprise me that by summertime, Elizondo will disappear. He'll be gone. He'll say, I've had enough. My wife has had enough. My children have had enough. I am stepping back. I'm going to continue the cause privately. I may talk to one or two people out there, but you know what? For the rest of ufology, here's your middle finger. Go screw yourselves, and I am done. What do we do then? As ufology, our best gift, our best insider will leave because he's tired. He's tired of the same questions on the same interviews from just different voices. He's tired of the personal attacks on Twitter. He's tired of having to protect himself with sock puppet accounts. He's tired of everything. And that is from insider information. And when he's done and walks away, and when we're all, sorry, Lou, very sorry you were treated that way, very sorry, we're all going to be wondering how we screwed this entire thing up. Welcome to Ufology 2022, because nobody could screw it up better than us. And that is your Dave 101. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think on YouTube, as I would love to hear you agree, disagree. Give me a comment. Let me know. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news. All right, let's see what Shirky Poo has for us tonight. Oh, this is the kind of story we love. And you'll hear why in a second. A California police officer called out to wrangle an escaped donkey said the animal surrendered due to being intimidated by the officer's lip blade, his mustache. Oh, yeah! You know how much we love a good mustache and beard around here. The power of the mustache compelled the donkey to surrender. Redding Police Department said officers Brian Berg and Cameron Hooks were summoned to the Quartz Hill Road near neighborhood where a fugitive donkey named Kevin was spotted running on the loose. So here's what happened. Berg said the 4.5-foot tall donkey didn't put up much of a fight. And he says, so there I was. I get there, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him. His ears are pinned back and thinking about running. But like most people I deal with, he saw the mustache, and he just said, I give up. Berg said Kevin turned out to be a very nice donkey. We had some great help with neighbors helping feed Kevin apples. Berg said that helped the situation a lot. Kevin was returned home, and the officer gave him an autographed 8x10 of the lip blade, just so Kevin wouldn't forget. Awesome. Awesome. A man ended up with an unusual pet when he made an unusual discovery among the Texas foliage, a pink grasshopper. Dirk Parker, an Ohio man currently working in East Texas as an environmental inspector for pipelines, said he initially didn't realize how rare this discovery was. Just thought it was a normal grasshopper that we didn't have in Ohio, he said. So the first thing I thought was that would be great fishing bait. Parker snapped photos of the grasshopper, returned to where he found it, and it wasn't until later that he did a Google search for pink grasshoppers and discovered the insect has a rare condition called erythrism. Erythrism. There we go. It's caused by a recessive gene, and it is rare to find in grasshoppers with the condition because the pink color makes them easy targets for predators. Parker said he returned to the same spot the next day to capture the grasshopper, which he nicknamed Pinky. Took about 10 minutes or so, found the grasshopper again, and is now keeping Pinky in a habitat as a pet. I want to share this with the world. It's so cool to get to show people. Pink grasshoppers. Isn't that a drink? All right. Remember that time traveler on TikTok? Yeah, he's got more BS here. Place your bets. The time traveler from 2743 says England will win the World Cup of Soccer this year. Well, Lord only knows that they need a miracle, and it ain't a time traveler telling them that, or at least a fake one. Let's see. There will also be a apparent Bigfoot sighting in 2022, and things will really get going later in the year, with 5 people predicted to receive superpowers. A huge sea creature, bigger than Megalodon, oh God, this one's probably true, is set to be discovered, so that's great if the Jurassic Park films are anything to go by. Yeah, posting on TikTok, the Space Adventurer from 2743 says, remember these dates, August 29, 2022, 5 people received superpowers. May 2nd, Bigfoot sighting in the northwestern region of California. Oh my God, I mean, that is just so accurate. Accurate. And then claim that they are humanity's last hope because, of course, there would be another self-proclaimed space adventure time traveler, 2582 followers, because apparently he's under arrest. Our journey has come to an end, but this won't stop us time travelers from spreading the truth. Time Traveler 2743 is our last hope. He will continue to reveal the truth until they catch him. Stay safe. This is great entertainment. Fantastic. And by the way, if you live in Singapore now and are over the age of 21, you are automatically enrolled as organ donors. It's getting a heap of praise online, as it should. The Southeast Asian country went through an organ shortage back in 87, and as a result, the Human Organ Transplant Act passed in 2009. The rule sees residents 21 and above who are not mentally disordered automatically included under the HOTA, one of the most remarkable success stories in history of medicine. I agree with this. If you are not an organ donor, shame on you. Seriously. You can't take it with you. Help someone live. Become an organ donor. Spaced Out Radio literally endorses this. Become an organ donor if you can. If you're healthy enough, do it. Save someone's life in case something bad happens to you. Big thank you to our great audience tonight in our chat rooms, to World Bigfoot Radio, Super Duke, Swamp Dweller, and of course, Dr. Michael Masters for an amazing show tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and all.
Here in C Spire country, the best network anywhere is all around you. It's up on our towers, where blazing fast 5G is turning your smartphone into a superphone. It's under your feet, where we lay gigabit fiber to make the internet faster than you've ever seen. It's powering your phones, feeds, tablets, TVs, and businesses. So now the best technology anywhere is right here. Welcome to C Spire country. It's just like the rest of the country, only a few steps ahead.
Are you a lover of the paranormal?
Do you find yourself asking,
is it real?
Well, listen in every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern,
where we talk about all your favorite paranormal shows,
YouTube channels,
haunted locations, and much, much more.
Join us on For the Booze as we discuss the history and the mystery behind it all.
Available everywhere podcasts are found.